I get a lot of questions about cultural change. Is there a step-by-step process? Oh, yeah, there is. Start,
Hmm.
keep going,
Right.
and keep going.
What's up, everybody? This is Paul Critchley, president of New England Lean Consulting. Welcome to episode 11 of the New England Lean podcast. That's crazy. I was getting ready to record for this episode, and I'm like, wow, 11 episodes already. It's gone by fast. So thanks again for listening and for hanging with me, everybody. I really do hope you're enjoying this. I'm really excited to be bringing you Bob Rush this week. Uh, I If you haven't heard of Bob, if you were active on LinkedIn 4 or 5 years ago, you probably have heard of Bob. He had a blog series that he wrote called Observations of an Old Guy. And those are his words, not mine. But I mean, hands down, some of the best writing I've ever read when it comes to lean, operational excellence, continuous improvement, whatever you want to call it. And I'm including everything and everybody in that, all blogs, posts, articles, books. Honestly, some of the best stuff. I will link to Bob's LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So if you haven't heard of Bob before, I strongly encourage you to search him out on LinkedIn because all those articles are still there. I just checked. Um, Definitely worth a read. There's so much knowledge and experience in there, and they're a fun read because um, they're done in a storytelling kind of format, which I really appreciate because that's how I try to write. Not as good as Bob, and that's how I try to convey in this podcast as well. So definitely check that out. In this episode, Bob and I talk about what real lean is all about. And we really kind of deep dive into that. We talk culture change, the effects of mentoring and why we should be doing a lot more of that, quite frankly, the importance of focus, and all of this is under the umbrella of respect for people, which Bob is a huge proponent of. Um, and I honestly just can't say enough about him. And I will go so far, and I don't use this term lightly, but Bob is what I consider a sensei to be. Now, he would never, ever use that term, I think, for himself. It's not anywhere associated with him. But as far as I'm concerned, that's what a sensei is. And he talks like one, he acts like one. And man, I'll tell you, if I could be half as good as Bob is, I'll consider myself being pretty darn successful with all this stuff. And even, we do the wicked fun part, and Bob even was able to weave in some knowledge dropping in there too. So that's just Bob. He was super fun to talk with and just chat with. He's a down to earth person. And like I said, he just has a lot of knowledge to share. So enough from me. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and hope everybody has a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, welcome to the New England Lean podcast. I'm your host, Paul Critchley. As I mentioned in the intro, I am so honored today to have Bob Rush with us. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good, good. It's good to see you.
Thanks. Finally seeing each other kind of live.
I know. It's been, we didn't get much of a chance to hang out ever because, right, I'm in Connecticut, and up until recently, you were in California. So,
Yep.
We had some, I'll say, near misses at conferences and stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
But never able to connect. So, and
Yep.
now, right, we're still in the middle of COVID-19. So this is about as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, this is as close to real life as you're going to get.
Yeah. So how's life treating you? What's been going on with you?
Good. Well, I retired a couple years ago and left California, moved to Tennessee.
Nice.
Been exploring Tennessee a bit. My wife and two sons moved out before I did, so they were settled down. So I had a really soft landing when I came here, and just kind of wandering around. So
getting into trouble, poking your fingers into
no,
stuff.
being a good boy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're what, just outside of Nashville, right?
Yeah. About 40 miles south. It's a town called Murfreesboro.
Okay.
So,
So that's kind of, I guess I wanted to kind of jump in there. So for people who aren't familiar, I'll give you a little brief bio and then please feel free to jump in. So you had started a blog, gosh, 3, 4 years ago, maybe?
yep.
And it was called what? Lean from an old guy or something like that?
Observations of an old lean guy.
There
Yep.
you go. Yep.
Yep.
And I will say, at least from my perspective, as far as our little social community goes and lean, it sort of went viral.
Uh-huh.
I think because, and I did. I was like hitting refresh on my phone. Like I think it came out every Wednesday or Thursday. I'm like,
I
where's
was
the
trying
next,
to do it. Yeah.
where's the next post? Where's the next post?
Yeah.
And I know we had chatted right before we hopped on. I know you said you're never going to write a book. I hope you do because
Yeah. I'm not a textbook guy. I am the story guy. I take people to Gemba and tell stories about what happened or things that I heard. Because in your travel, you hear a lot of great stories. So, but people learn by doing. You know, at, at, at my former employer, Tesla, I had what I called punch card lean guys. They just wanted the, Kaizen, check. SMED, check. And they just wanted to check them off. The really good ones didn't care what they checked off. What they wanted to get to was the results. So, and that's where I'm at. I want to be in the results. I want to fix things. I mean, that's what we do this for, right? And if we're not in it for that, we're in big trouble. I mean, we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a textbook guy. I'll never write a book. I'm just not that way. It's not in my DNA. And there's other people that write books that it's not in their DNA to be at a factory at 1 o'clock in the morning, with the line going down and CEOs screaming and you know what I mean? It's just not.
I unfortunately know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were plenty of times in the middle of the night. One of the stories I tell, and admittedly, I made some mistakes, but when well, yeah, I know, big shocker there, right? But it was, I was in South Carolina, working at a automotive plant. I had taken a developmental assignment, so I was living down there about an hour south of Greenville, and I'd been there about a year and a half. And I was a tier 1 automotive manufacturer, and we had won some work from Toyota. And it was the night before they came in to do the final supplier audit. Yep. And back then we either get like a green plus sign, a yellow triangle, or a red circle or something. I forget.
Yeah.
Now, it was so long ago.
Yeah.
And I literally was there from 7:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock the next morning. And I went home, obviously couldn't sleep. So I just kind of showered up, slapped myself in the face a few times and went back in. We had, the folks from Toyota came in, they did the review. We got the green plus, we got essentially from an ISO, in ISO speak, it was no findings.
Yep.
They get, obviously they found some stuff that they wanted us to change because hey, we were still working on it, which was fine. But they left around 2 and I'm just but it was, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, people were looking at me like, who are you? I've worked here forever. I've never seen you before. And hey, how you doing?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times I would go, try to work every shift on a pretty regular basis, but you get the first look is, I bet he's in management and bad things are going to happen.
There you go.
So, and then the next look is, why is he writing everything down? Is he writing bad things about me? So, and I have one group where the team lead came over and says, my team wants you to read your notes to them. Really? They want to learn what I'm talking about? Really? Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. And I think she was shocked so I went over. And what it was just observations about, why do they have to move the material 14 feet to get it to their machine? Why is their machine laid 90 degrees out from where the part needs to end up. Why don't they just move the machine? Why is this? So and my final question was, where's the manager? Why isn't the manager here doing this? So, and the team was like, yeah, we want to adopt this guy. We want him to come work with us. So, and I got assigned to that group. I had been assigned to another group, and one of the directors said he was having a problem with this group supplying parts. So would I just mind taking a look-see? So after my observation, and the director of that area got wind of it, he said, I'd like him to work with that group. So in addition to my regular job, I got this group and had fun. And I did most of my work on that late shift with those people because they actually wanted to know what was going on. No, and that's usually the case. People want to know. I mean, they really want to know.
Yeah. And so I chuckled as you started to tell, because I thought that the people thought maybe you were writing down like, we can fire this person's late, right?
Cut foreheads, too many people. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they were thinking. And I never thought that in any way, shape, or form. Lean is not for cost cutting. You'll save money in it, but the point of it is not cost cutting. It's to improve, customer satisfaction. Everything we do should be directed towards customer in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, we do eliminate waste, but the point of lean is to enhance value to customers. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So I've gotten away from cutting waste to enhancing value.
Do you think from a lean community, do you think that we get that right? Or do you think we get it wrong more often than not? Like, do you think we still focus too much on the cost cutting side, or are you feeling like, are we tipping towards the culture side?
I think as people get deeper into it, they realize it's really cultural. This is not a financial tool. This is a cultural tool. And, anytime you change a culture, it's messy, it's dirty, it's funky. Talk about the gamut of people. You got superstars and what I call anchor draggers, the whole range of people. So one of the benefits is cost savings, but the real win in it is customer satisfaction. So, if you can double production, shorten lead times, improve on-time delivery, your customers are happy. They will order more. And what I found is a lot of time they get less fussy about cost cuts. Although one of my companies, our goals with Lean was to cut pricing to our customers to block out competition. So how do we make as much money as we did, but lower price? That was the premise that my boss put to me. And when you go in that way, you figure out, hey, wait a minute, we could do this. So
you know what, Bob? I don't think I've ever heard anybody come at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, we're back to enhancing value for customer, right? So, customers will have multiple suppliers of the same thing, but if you're the best quality, lowest price, they usually don't use their backup very much. So,
right? Why would they?
Yeah. In the 80s, the CEO of Intel was a guy named Andy Grove. And he used to have a saying that he wasn't greedy and 80% market share is plenty.
Yeah.
And I agree with him. So how do I get to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and Lean is the perfect tool for that, right? I mean, if you really do Lean and the whole respect for people thing, then you can get it right. I mean, you really can, you involve it. So one of my stops along the way, I had assemblers actually talk to the customers, especially when they had a problem. If there was a quality issue, this is your line, this problem happened, I want you to talk to the customer about it. And that line, and all of them that would get involved in it, became much more efficient. They became emotionally attached to it, right? A lot of people do a job for money, but if you can get them emotionally attached to it, that's where the win is. So way back when I first got exposed to Lean, the respect for people thing made sense to me because you're trying to get them emotionally attached to their process or their customer or whatever it is. But I want them to be a part of it. So.
Yeah, and that's honestly, I mean, I spend a lot of time talking in that realm. Like, there's a workshop that I teach. Actually, I just taught it this morning before we recorded this, and I talk about just that. I bring up the Gallup poll surveys that say 66, 67% of employees aren't engaged. They're either not engaged or actively disengaged. And I'm like, wait a second, that's every 2 out of 3 people. So you got that's bad. Like, how do we do this when people are in that mode? And that's why, to your point, I mean, now that I've been, before I was in engineering, industrial engineering, so I had production and all those other things I had to worry about. Now that I've just been doing lean for the last 7-8 years, I personally have really learned that it's the culture, the respect for people piece is 80%. I don't know. I don't even want to put a percentage on it. That comes first.
Yes.
The metrics, the results come later. That's an it's I so struggle sometimes because, again, my whole business is I do lean consulting. So when clients call us, and we have a lot of, small to medium-sized manufacturers.
Yep.
They're not necessarily calling me because they have a culture problem. In general, they aren't. They're calling because they got a problem. They have a compelling case for change, right? So it's almost like it's you got to get in there and earn the right to have those conversations.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And that's where lean leadership comes in, because you show people, right? You get in there and you roll the sleeves up and your eyeballs deep in the problem with them, and you're living it with them. People will start to listen to you a little bit more, and you can start doing it. So, I get a lot of questions about cultural change. Is there a step-by-step process? Oh, yeah, there is. Start, keep going, and keep going.
Yeah.
It just, there's no, a lot of people want step-by-step for everything. So I did a speech with Apex a couple years ago, and it was about lean. So an Apex is not noted as a lean organization. That's supply chain, and and it was funny because the comments I got afterwards, the guys that were eyeballs deep in things took away a lot from what I said. The students, on the other hand, all said, well, he should have told us exactly how he did it. And you're like, well, here's how I did it. I went to Gemba and I talked to people and I saw the problem up and we tried to fix things, and we thought about this and we thought about that, and then we did it. And you know what? Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But we learned every time. So So I am a huge fan of go to Gemba. Just go to Gemba, fix the problem. Will it be messy? Absolutely. Will you ever get it perfect? Absolutely not. If you ever think you got it perfect, you're wrong.
Right.
You are wrong. So I mean, Toyota's still doing lean. If anybody achieved perfection, it was Toyota, right? I mean, they've been at it the longest. They took it the most serious, and they still do it. Why? Because there's still problems. There's always problems. So problems aren't a bad thing.
Yeah. What do they say? I forget what the exact, I'm going to butcher the quote, but what they're golden nuggets or no problems is a problem. The same, same premise. And I can remember, and I want to say it was that day. I mean, we had plenty of Toyota visits as we were getting ready, because I was down there for a year and a half. But every single time we could, typical American automotive company. Yeah. We do the spit shine, a couple days before everybody shows up, and we get the donuts and the coffee, the whole, go to the conference room and butter them up and the whole thing. And I'll tell you, I know I'm ashamed to admit it, but every single time. So now they're like, that's great. We appreciate it. Thank you. Can we go out on the floor? Like, not 5 minutes, 5 minutes after they show up. And as soon as we hit the floor, it was like they're just everywhere. They're over looking at this and looking at that, and why is this way, and what is this, and what are these charts on the wall mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, and we learned I
Yeah.
learned so much because I got my start in design and applications for a
Uh-huh.
few years, and I knew nothing about any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get down there, it was like, wow, it it was eye opening, and it made so much sense to me
Mm-hmm.
when I looked at how we were, because again, we could make, so we made bearings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the number is. Millions of bearings a
Oh,
day.
I'm sure.
I mean, I can remember we had 1 million square feet under roof
Mm-hmm.
at this plant, which is sad because it's all gone now. Like physically, that they bulldozed it. The only thing left is the concrete floor. But
Yeah.
that aside, I can remember walking out in the plant and a sea of vibratory finishers, and over here were grinders that
Mm-hmm.
were grinding needle rollers down to millions.
Uh-huh.
And they were coming off the end of the machine. It looked like a little stream of water because it
Yeah.
was so fast. And we had 50 of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, wow, because to me, again, I'd never been in a plant before. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this is what manufacturing looks like. This is
Mm-hmm.
like, the Willy Wonka, like every
Mm-hmm.
motion and chaos and everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and then,
It's the coolest thing.
and then these guys come in and they're like, you ask all these questions. And I can remember thinking, geez, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because,
Yeah.
and then I started to see, we had these little, like the mini dumpsters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they were like a square yard or a cubic yard or whatever. I can remember, I started to see those. They had always been there, but now I noticed them, and they're full again of these needle rollers, and needle rollers are like the size of this, like that, right at the end of a pen, and full. These tubs full of these things, and I'm just thinking, what a waste! Like, and we're just going to throw these things away. Like, we can't use them.
Yeah.
And to them, it was like, that's 0.01% of our production. So who really cares?
Yeah.
Like,
But Toyota did, didn't they?
they zeroed in on that stuff. Like,
They sure did.
yeah.
So, yeah. I was fortunate to have a sensei, and I spent a lot of time in supply chain, so I had to do a lot of audits. And he took me on one audit with him. It was a potential client, but they were approaching it as an audit, like what a Toyota would do if they came in to audit them. So, and it was really funny. So we went in, everybody had their suits on, and they took us into the conference room with donuts and coffee. And my sensei smiled and said, "Lovely conference room. Where's the floor?" And off we went. And the very first thing he did, I'll never forget, he went to a CNC machine, got down on his hands and knees and looked under the machine. And the guy next to me said, "What's he looking for?" And I said, "I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say he's looking to see how clean it is." So, and that was it. And he says, "It's very dirty under there. Why don't you guys do," and he introduced them to 5S, "do 5S, call me back, I'll come see you again." And we left right then. We were maybe half an hour into the audit, and he was done. That was it. You don't even clean under your machines. You can't be ready for us. Off he went. So to this day, I remember that. And the first thing I do when I do audits is the same thing.
Do you?
Well, yeah, I look under machines. People laugh, but I get down there and look. So if you're clean under your machine, you're probably clean everywhere, right? Anybody can polish up a mill table or something like that. An assembly line can get polished up, but do they take the time to clean underneath? Do they, and of course you look at the chart. So I had a potential client that said, "Oh, we have value streams maps up all over our factory. You're going to love it." So we toured it, and the first value stream map that I saw was 3 years old. So I said, "Well, I don't think you guys want me. I'm the wrong guy. If your value stream map's 3 years old, it tells me you haven't done anything in 3 years. And if you have, you didn't document it, so you don't know if you did anything."
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
So what? So you've done this right for a couple of years, anyways. How do you? So from your take, what do we, as a community, as a movement, what do you think we get right? What do you think we get wrong?
What we get right is preaching change. We preach change with the best of them, and in all my travels, the best people at this are the ones that are most consistent in the message about change. Mark Graban had Tom Peters on the other day, and one of my favorite quotes of all time from Tom Peters is, "The only constant is change." So, so we do really well at that. So what we don't do well at is really training people in lean. Um, not everybody can have a sensei. They really can't. But we don't do a good job of training people. So we get people that'll read a book and that's the limit of their knowledge and they don't want to go beyond that. So, and if you're a frontline supervisor, that's okay. But if you truly want to be, and I say lean guy, but it's generic term. If you want to be a lean person, you got to go a lot deeper than that. You got to get trained and you got to be willing to make mistakes, sometimes big mistakes, sometimes mistakes that could cost you your job. But one of the best things about lean is the risk. You're taking a risk and it's really fun. I mean, it really is. So those are the two things I think, preaching change and then training people to really get it. So, and I'm fortunate enough to have a few people that I'm mentoring that get what I'm talking about and they're continuing their training. One worked directly for me. Oh, actually, two worked directly for me. And a couple more worked around me, didn't work for me, but worked around me. And then I got people that I just met in random travels that contacted me through LinkedIn. And I told you the story of the tennis coach, her husband connected with me. He's another one that gets it. So we need to find those that get it. We got to find those.
Unwrap that a little bit for me. What do you mean when you say get it?
Okay, so when you're doing it, for example, if you're on a Kaizen event and you're working with a team, you will find that one diamond in the rough that has true potential, really true potential. Those are the ones we need to identify and put extra time in. The best boss I ever had changed my thinking from I'm going to spend a lot of time with my bad employees to get them up to I'm going to spend more time with my good employees to make them excel. Mm-hmm. And the bad guys, I'll give them the minimum to get them up. But if they don't get it up, that's their problem, not mine. So rather than taking it on as my problem. So with lean, that's what I do. I find those nuggets in the rough. So, and if you look through the guys that connect with me the most on LinkedIn, you will find those guys that I found nuggets. There was a guy I interviewed, and it was a phone interview, and it was one of those where it was a wow right from the start. It was a wow. He really got it. He did. So I flew him down. He was in Seattle. Flew him down to Fremont to visit the factory, and in person, it was a wow. And he's still a wow to me. So you just find them. You find that connection, and I spend the time with them. They're worth it. So. One of the things with lean is it needs to expand. It really needs to expand. The problem is if every company in the world wanted to do lean right now, there's not enough people.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, consultants would be happier than heck, but there's just not enough people. So part of my change from eyeballs deep in problems and Muda in a factory to doing things like this was to help people realize that we have to expand it. If we're going to expand it, then we need to train these people that can do it. So we need to identify, some people, you put them in a factory at 3 a.m. and they're going to excel. And other people, you put them in a hospital and they're going to excel. Mm-hmm. So part of lean is figuring out which ones are which, train them in the proper way and turn them loose and let them do it. And to me, the reward is when they send me notes about, hey, Bob, I had a Kaizen, we did this. Bob, I found this guy and I'm training him and he's like this or something like that. Just hearing the stories is satisfaction enough.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I'm glad you said that. And it was not prompted. So anybody watching or listening, we didn't plan it. But that's, and you put it much better than I could. I wrote it down and I'm stealing it. But it's because, and I'll give you an example. A place I used to work, we had, I don't know, it was a new president or CEO or something. It was a giant organization. And they were making the rounds to all the plants around the world, right? So they finally get to our plant. And one of the questions somebody asked him was, how come you haven't been here before? Because now it's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months into his tenure.
Mm-hmm.
And his answer was, he's like, well, I didn't need to be because you guys are so good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm like thinking to myself, you know what? That's a bunch of what makes the grass grow green, as my father would say.
Yes.
Right? It's like, but it gets back to, right? It gets back to goals and measures and KPIs.
Yeah.
That if it's green, and Mark Graven's going to yell at me, but right, still people use red, yellow, green. Right?
Yeah.
Some places do that, and the feel I get, or the intention is, if it's green, they just gloss over and they don't even pay attention. They go right to the reds. What is this problem? Right? And they drill down there. And it's not unlike if, like your kid brings home a report card and it has a bad grade. You don't see the 4 A's. You look at the C or the B or F or what, right? You're like, what happened here? Like, and I wonder why that is,
Yeah. Well, we're trained that way, right? So in my generation, before Lean, when we were first discovering elements of Lean called world-class manufacturing.
I remember that.
Yeah, Richard Schoenberger. So we were what were called firefighters. And companies, in my case, Hewlett-Packard, would put me into places to fix problems, right? So if there was a hot order, what did they do? Well, the firefighter, who was usually in production control, would expedite the order through and usually hand walk it through stations and do this and do that, right?
Yep.
So for me, the first epiphany I got was a new general manager came to the organization, and he was told, Bob is the guy. He's the guy. He makes everything happen. Unfortunately for me, he didn't like that. He didn't like that. He liked routine. So a guy named Rick Belluzzo, interesting guy. So, and he sent me away for 6 weeks, started working on the factory, brought me back and gave me a choice to start learning new ways or find a new job. And I decided that I'd like to learn new ways because I need a job. so yeah, and that's what's actually, that was the first step in my journey. That's where I was first introduced to world-class manufacturing way back when.
Okay.
And it's been a journey since, take a step and sometimes 2 or 3 steps back, but you just keep going.
And so how did you evolve from world-class manufacturing to Lean? Did you just kind of go that way on your own? How did that all play out?
Well, my career has been a long series of accidents. And I've always managed to meet incredible people along the way that have taken an interest in me. So Rick Belluzzo took an interest in me. And then the next guy took an interest. And there's guys along the way, one in particular, Jeff Cannon, that took an interest in me. So, and Jeff was the one that really encouraged my Lean transition. So I'd done world class and I was learning about Lean. I had a client that was a Boeing supplier that introduced me to Shingijutsu. And that's where I really learned about Lean way back when in the 90s. And that's where I started. But Jeff hired me and then turned me loose. And he says he knew world-class manufacturing. It was intimate in it. And he says, I always thought that it was a part of a puzzle, that there was a bigger puzzle and I was missing pieces. So, and I said, well, I'm not sure I know the pieces. And he says, I'm sure you'll find the pieces. I'm sure. And he turned me loose. And that was my first real Lean thing. We had a small division of a huge conglomerate. So we were really under the radar. We were profitable, which for that company was unusual. And they kind of left us alone and let us do things. So, and one day our corporate headquarters were actually across the street from us. And the CEO came over and said, hey, somebody changed this factory around. What's going on? And he wanted to know why we did what we did. So, and off he went. He didn't say anything. We gave him the tour, explained why. I had my managers give the tour. You don't want me there. You guys want to do it. You were the guys that did it. I gave you some ideas. I helped you fix a couple of problems, but you guys did it. So they talked to him. And then the next day I got summoned to the CEO's office to explain myself. And I thought, oh, this is not good. He didn't like it or something like that.
I was just going to say, so pause right there.
Mm-hmm.
So you get summoned. Had you ever been there before?
No.
All right. So now you get summoned to the boss's office.
Yeah. Yeah. The
And
guy at the top of the pyramid kind of thing.
right. So
And he just said, that operations has been funky. He says that was the first group that I took before. And he had formed this conglomerate by acquiring other companies. But the division I was at was the very first one. This is the one that everything else had been built upon. And he says, I hired 3 ops guys, and none of them could turn anything around there. And you come in and you do it, and you don't even take the credit. You didn't come to the floor when I was there. And he says, and I don't think Jeff was even in the building when I came over. So you guys are unimpressed by me, and I'm greatly impressed by you. So tell me what you did and how you did it. So we just went through the step-by-step. We started here, we started there, this problem, that problem. So, and he went through it. So he says, great, I love it. You guys are doing great. And he says, and the CFO reported that you guys had the most profitable month ever. So, way to go. Love you guys. So, and after that, all of a sudden I started getting phone calls from other groups within the company saying, what did you do? How did you do it? Where did you learn it? So Jeff really encouraged me, and he says, well, ops is running pretty smooth, right? So, and at that point we had taken over 3 other divisions and just incorporated it into ours. And he says, ops is running pretty smooth. I don't think you need to be in the factory every day, do you? And I said, no, I'd like to be, but I don't have to be.
Yeah.
And he sent me on the road. He sent me to other divisions. So, and he put me on corporate teams to fix things and go from there. So, and it got to the point where my visibility had been raised that when Jeff left the company, they talked to me about becoming general manager, and it freaked me out. And I said, no, I'm not that. So I left that company and joined Jeff at a startup. So
okay.
I worked for Jeff at 3 companies, best boss I ever had. I say that anybody ever asks, I tell them that. Just he had a great management style. He turned you loose. He believed in results, and he also wanted to know the story. So if you changed something, he wanted to know, why did you change it? How did you change it? And why did you think this was going to get that result? And he'd like to understand things. He's to this day an incredible manager. It really is. So.
And it sounds like, I mean, I don't know him, but I would say he's pretty rare in the.
Well, I've had 2 in my career that were like that. So early in my career, I got 1, and then Jeff came later in my career.
I think I've only had 1 that I can think of off the top of my head. I've met a few business leaders that I would put in that same category that, around just from like clients and stuff. But the guy, like my guy, Mike Bolton, it's not that one, but he's heard that joke a million zillion times, but
I'm sure.
He was,
was he in Office Space?
Yeah, a different one. But yes. But I'll never forget. It was the same plant in South Carolina, and I was the project engineer. I was the only one for that program because we were launching 30 some odd end items for Toyota, and he was the program manager. And he had that program plus another couple little small ones, but this by far was the biggest one. So he was kind of like, he was basically my boss. And Bob, there was one day that, I mean, he was awesome. I genuinely liked the guy. But there was one day he said, this afternoon, we're just going to go out on the floor and we're just going to walk this whole process, because we had stamping, heat treat, vibratory finishing, assembly, grinding. We had all these different value streams. And Bob, it was like walking around with a rock star. Yeah. Everywhere we went, he's like, I mean, people were hugging the guy. They're like, oh, we never see you anymore. They run up giving him a hug. And literally, he's getting high fives and stuff. And I'm just like looking at him and I'm blown away. Yeah. And I just remember asking him, we went through and it took us forever. It took us like, the whole day just to do what we thought was going to be in an hour, because everyone kept stopping him. But the thing was, he knew everybody's name. And again, 1,000,000 square feet. We didn't get to every place, but every place we went, he knew every single person's name. And he's like, how's your kids? How's your grandkids? And he knew, he knew details about them.
Yep.
And I was in awe. Like in a handful of times in my entire life, I was speechless just watching this. And I'm like, I want to be like this guy.
Yeah.
And I remember we walked back into his office. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, how do I do what?
Yeah.
I'm like, what you just did. Because, when I look at the ops manager, the plant manager, these other guys that are VP director levels, I said, when so-and-so and those guys walk out on the floor, they don't get a reception like that. And he just kind of gave me this look.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I'm like, he's like, and I forget exactly what he said, but he's like, you gotta care. He goes, you can't fake that. You gotta genuinely care about these people. He goes, and if they know you care, they'll run through a wall for you.
Yep.
And it was like, wow. And that's the stuff for me. When I talk respect for people and culture, I always remember that day. And it's like, that's what I try to get people to understand and get to that point.
Yes.
To varying levels of success. Right?
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah. So we always like to take a little break. And we like to play what I call the wicked fun part. Because we're a New Englander, so it's wicked something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're up for it.
I got it.
All right. Yeah, it's not bad. I promise. It's relatively harmless. What do you think about when you're alone in your car?
Depends on if I'm going to dinner or not. So if I'm going to dinner, it's what sounds good.
There you go.
If I'm not, my thoughts wander. I am a big music fan, so I have XM radio in my car, so I'll pick a bizarre station and listen to something and let my thoughts wander. So, and a lot of times I do my problem solving when I'm driving, which sometimes causes problems, but
yeah, I do mine when I'm mowing my lawn, so it's a little less risky.
Yeah.
But,
I got to go mow a lawn here in a minute. So.
All right. I knew you were a big music guy, so that's why my second question: what's your favorite song and why?
My favorite song?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, put me on the spot, huh?
Can be anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pick two for different reasons.
Okay.
Absolute song is Freebird.
Skinner.
Because of the guitars in it. I'm a huge guitar fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the second song is Wish You Were Here, to play on guitar, because it's relatively simple, but it's beautiful. It really is, on an acoustic guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife bought me a Takamine acoustic guitar. I wanted to learn guitar, so she bought me a Takamine. And when I play that, it just sounds beautiful to me. Everybody else is probably going, God, I wish he'd learn that song. But yeah, those are my two.
All right, fair enough. You've earned it, Bob. You could have said three and I would have let you do it.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any advice for a previous boss? And you don't have to name who that person is, but...
Yeah, I do. Stop with the corporate politics. Be yourself. You're a good boss. You really were a good boss, but the corporate politics ate you up, and it ended up costing him his job. So, I used to tell people, if I'm going to get fired, I'm going to get fired for being myself, not for being something I'm not. So, yeah.
There you go. So that reminds me of the Deming, right? A bad process will beat a good person every time. And I've seen it too. It's when you get a certain level and higher, it turns so political. It just, people just turn, it's weird.
Yeah.
People turn into awful monsters sometimes.
Yeah.
Different. All right, better one, or a happier one.
That was a good one.
What's the funniest thing that's happened to you recently? Anything good?
Funniest thing that's happened to me. Um, See, that's hard for me because I find everything funny. I really do. I was taught you can laugh or you can cry, and if you cry, people take advantage of you. If you laugh, they think you're crazy. So, funny thing recently. Well, I guess I'm going to pick my son. Um, so I work at a grocery store part time doing stocking and facing and things like that. And with COVID-19, you have to sterilize carts, and they moved me from grocery to carts. So my 18-year-old, or soon to be 18-year-old in a week or so, at dinner, I was talking about his part-time job or something like that, and he says, "Well, Dad, at least I didn't get demoted to carts." so yeah.
Burn.
Yeah. Oh, and it was a good one.
Yeah,
It was good.
that's my little one. She's 12,
Yeah.
but she's got that sense of humor. She's like,
He's got it.
yeah,
He's got it.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it was funny. You know,
Yeah.
it was so good. I couldn't say anything. What do you say to that? Right?
You just
Yeah.
get all I do. I'm just like, you got me.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
can't. I can't. I got nothing.
You win.
Yep.
So
What's one thing nobody knows about you?
one thing nobody knows about me. Uh, Nobody knows about me. I guess. I guess that I was raised in a Navy family,
Hmm.
so I have a lot of military traits.
Yeah.
As much as I said I don't want to be like my dad, I ended up like my dad. So
Happens to the best of us.
yeah, my oldest son just pointed out, you look like your dad, except your hair is not quite as gray as Grandpa's was. But
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, dude, closer than you thought. So yeah,
Mhm.
I was raised in a Navy family. My dad fought World War II, Korea,
Oh wow.
and get out right before Vietnam.
Wow.
So
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh, all right. When are you the happiest?
Oh, I guess um, I guess at dinner time with my family. Um, it's a relaxing time, and uh, as you can tell by my story, we make fun of each other's things, and we talk serious stuff sometimes, and the conversation is pretty good. Um, so yeah, I have two families. I have two older boys that I had when I was really young, and then these two came when I was much older, and I appreciate it more now
Hmm.
than I did then. It's a special gift. I don't always remember that, but yeah,
That's a good
I'll say
answer.
that. Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
Well, it's funny you say that because when I was young, I wanted to try everything. So when I went to college, I tried truck driving, and I was a butcher for a while, and sales. I did race car driving, drove sprint cars and midgets.
Really? That's
Um,
wicked cool.
yeah, yeah. So it's different. Um, and to tell you the truth, there isn't another job I'd want. I tell everybody, do what you love and the money will follow. And it turned out that manufacturing is my love. I love it. Just the process, the people involved in it. Um, I just, so yeah. I mean, right now, if I had to change professions, my wife teases me a lot and says I should have been a lawyer.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure that I'd be a good lawyer, but I'd fight.
Yeah.
Uh,
If heaven exists, what would you like to say? What would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
oh, I forgive you for everything, Bob.
Amen.
Yes, yes, please. I've been trying to make up for lost time, sir.
All right, final and easy one. Tennessee or California?
California.
Yeah.
California. Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. We talked about a little bit the pace of life. Um, Boy, just the differences are amazing to me. So yeah. And and it's not to knock Tennessee. One of my favorite guys from Tesla lives in Nashville now. He's director of quality for Gibson guitars, and he
Ooh,
loves it.
that's
He
that's
loves it.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, he loves it. So, and there are good things about it. But I was born in California, although junior high and high school was Colorado, and then moved back. My life's there. My whole long life was there. So,
Mm,
um, the key part of my life though is in Tennessee, and that's my wife and two sons. So
mhm.
yeah,
I
and
get
I'm
you.
not knocking Tennessee in any way, shape, or form. I don't agree with some things here, but there
Yeah.
are some really cool things here. There really are. So the one story I always tell people, when I first came here, I went to the grocery store, and the checkout clerk was talking to the lady in front of me, and the Californian in me came out and thought, move, 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 let's go. I got places to
Mm.
go, things to do, right? But here, their pace of life is so much slower. They actually talk to you. They stop and they listen.
I know.
They
What a
really listen.
concept.
Really, really. In California, if somebody says, "How are you?" It really means I'm really busy. Move on. So,
Yep. Yep.
but here, they're really asking you. So,
Yeah, and they genuinely want to know.
yeah, yeah. I will tell you one thing that impressed me about Tennessee, though, is they call it the volunteer state,
Mhm.
and people here volunteer. So if there is an emergency of some kind, so tornado hit earlier this year, and people were out the very next day volunteering. They had so many volunteers, they had to turn them away.
Wow.
So people here really care about each other, which was very refreshing to see, to know people care that much. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's it, yeah, Maine's the same way. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
eh,
Maine's one of my favorite places.
I'll always be a Mainer, even though I
Yeah,
live in Connecticut now.
yeah,
And like same as you. I mean, my
yeah,
family's here, and
yeah,
but it's just it's my home. And
yeah.
and the story I tell, I was up there not that long ago, and had stopped it for gas, and I don't know, I bought a water. I don't know, I bought something at the store. I paid cash, and before they handed me my change, the guy pulled it out of the till. He took the time to arrange it numerically, and so it was all facing the same way, and
Uh
which is something I do, and my wife,
huh.
like, it drives her insane.
that's
But in my
that's the lean
wallet,
guy in you coming out.
well, it's that or OCD or something. But it's tens and twenties, and then
Mhm,
fives and ones, and
mhm.
then because not for nothing, you look in her purse, and it's literally balls of money, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." But it was amazing because he's like, oh, he goes, somebody didn't put it in here, right? Give me 1 second. So he's like, and it's
That's a
like
great
this is why
story.
I love Maine. It's
Yeah, yeah.
and same thing. The whole time he's like, hey, what have you been up to? What are you doing? I see you went, did this, your shirt, and
Mhm.
all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Bob, we're just about out of time, but before we leave, I just wanted to ask you one final question, and that
Okay.
is, so you've changed your career. So you were, a million miles an hour, and you did the automotive thing, and so
Yeah.
now you mentioned you're kind of in the mentorship, realm.
Yep.
What advice do you think the world could benefit from, that if you had, something to say, what do you think for somebody who's just starting their lean journey? Like, what advice do you have for us?
Oh boy.
I know it's a
If
big
I
one.
tell the world anything, it's respect for people. So if we were kindler and gentler to each other, it probably would be a much better place, and maybe we could find some common ground. To somebody starting their lean journey, keep in mind it is a journey, and there's going to be bumps. And if you let a bump stop you, you're not a lean person. So, and you can go have a fantastic career doing something else, but if bumps stop you, this is not for you. So, if you're easily frustrated, don't do lean because you will go home and want to kick the neighbor's dog so many times it's unreal. So, and it's so the one thing I do say is have fun, because if you're fixing other people's problems, they're not yours, they're other people, and you're helping them and you're not having fun, you're in the wrong business. Go find something else. So
Sound advice.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, I will let you go so you can go mow your lawn, but
Okay.
I can't say thank you enough.
No, thank you. I enjoyed it.
I'm so happy that
Yeah.
you said yes to being on
Yeah.
the podcast and that we get to hang out and chat for a little bit, which we don't get much of a chance to do.
Yep.
So I could listen to you talk forever. So
Okay.
So
well, thanks for the kind words.
Thank you. And fire that blog back up so we could all keep learning stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, anybody has an idea that they want me to write about, send it to me, because I was born with writer's block and I really don't. Although I have one idea that I may do here pretty soon. But yeah, any ideas, if anybody wants to make suggestions, they have questions or anything, track me down through LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm pretty easy to find on there, I think.
Yeah.
Or at
I'll
least,
link to your profile in the show notes so people can find you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for
All right,
everything.
Bob.
I
Yes,
really
sir.
enjoyed it. I laughed a lot, and that's what counts.
That's what I was hoping for.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, Bob. Thanks again.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.
See ya.
Hi, everyone. It's Paul. Before I let you go, I just want to say thanks for listening. I hope you found the podcast to be both entertaining and educational, as that's really what our goal is with it. If you did like it, please give us a review and a subscribe. The more folks who do this, the more the algorithms like us, so the more people will be able to find us. I also want to give special shout outs to Emma Critchley for her video and audio editing abilities, which quite frankly are way beyond mine, as well as Jeremy Grant and the team at the Timber Cross for their creative genius. I appreciate you all. I invite you to connect with us as well. We're all over social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, so we should be pretty easy to find. We share a lot of content that is much like what we talk about on the podcast, so it may be of interest to give us a follow. You can also find us online at newenglandlean.com. That's our website, and it outlines all the services we provide, things we do, customer testimonials, case studies, white papers, as well as being our main conduit for story sharing about all things that are lean, quality, and culture change focused. So check us out there as well. Finally, if you have any thoughts about the podcast, things you'd like us to discuss, things you'd like us to change, or if you want to be a guest or know somebody who would be, please email us at podcast@newenglandlean.com. We're always trying to improve and welcome any feedback. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, make it a wonderful week.